Please listen carefully.
One of the nice things about having the Leaf is the ability to remote access information on the Leaf in terms of its charge status, and also to remotely control the climate control within the car. This means that you can actually set the car to turn on the climate control and warm or cool the car depending on the time of year. And this can be done remotely through the Carwings app, which I believe is available for Android as well as the iOS. I'm using this on an iPad at the moment. Also have it on the phone, which is actually where I use it more often, but I'm using the phone to film at the moment, so we'll look at it on the iPad. Slightly bigger display anyway. So, just looking across this briefly, you can see I've just started the app and it's updated the status based on the car's information. The car actually has a SIM card built in, and there's a yearly subscription to the Carwings service. I will check on the costs on that and report on it. At the moment, it's free for me. I think it's free for the first maybe couple of years. Like I say, I'll look up on that and report that. But if we just go down this briefly, this gives us an idea of the current estimated range based on the current charge status of the car. And this can be affected by turning the climate control on and off. That basically gives you an estimate of the range with the climate control on and with it off. As you can see, we get a couple of miles extra by turning it off. Not a big deal. State of charge is fairly obvious. I charge it normally to 80%. Supposedly better for the lithium-ion battery, the drive battery, to do that. So that's what I regularly do, unless I know I'm going on a longer journey, in which case I charge it to 100. This indicates that the car is currently plugged in, and the little icon here, the lightning bolt, is that indicates when the car is actively charging. So down below we have time needed for charge completion. So this indicates when it's expected the charge will complete, depending on whether your the car has a built-in 3 kilowatt charger or a 6 kilowatt charger. In my case, I have a 3 kilowatt charger. So charging at home is slower than it would be with a 6 kilowatt charger, but it doesn't matter because it's usually charged overnight or during the day. In fact, in my case, I always make sure there's 80% in the battery regardless. So I don't really worry about having a 6 kilowatt charger. If I need to charge away from home, I would use rapid chargers anyway. I've got time to wait, even 2-3 hours with a 6 kilowatt charger. I would want a rapid charger to provide an immediate boost up to 80 miles within about 20 minutes. So that would be normal. So yeah, at the moment we can see that it's not charging and there's no time needed for charge completion. And we look down at these icons at the bottom. The home icon just brings you to this home screen. Now we can actually start charging remotely. So if I hit this charge icon now and then say OK, what that will do is that will send a request to Nissan's Carwings control center, which will then convey that message to the car. There's no direct communication from the app to the car. It's all done through the Nissan control center. That means there's no messing about with because the car's using a SIM card. It wouldn't be easy to talk directly to a car unless the car had Wi-Fi installed or Bluetooth or something similar, but obviously the range of Bluetooth would restrict your ability to access it. So we can see the request has been sent, and this is basically an acknowledgement that the request has been received by the car. And if we look now at the car, just open the door. You can see the blue lights flashing there. That indicates that it's charging. Oops, moving back into this. There is a gremlin with this app. It tends to, quite often when it updates its status, it tends to crash out. Hopefully that's going to be resolved soon. It's not really a big deal, but it's just a slight minor annoyance. Okay, so we're going to need to update now to get the status, because that doesn't tell us its real current status. And it does take a few seconds normally to do this. Obviously, because there's communication between here, Nissan Control Center, and then the Nissan Carwings Control Center back to the car. Okay, now we see we've got the charging icon on. This battery thing's moving, and the car is charging. And the next thing we have here is climate control. This is a really nice feature, especially this time of year. As you just saw, there's Jack Frost has done his work, and yeah, if we needed to get up in the morning and go somewhere, if we were on a daily commute, it would be nice to have the car nice, toasty and warm for us when we get in the car and defrosted. And this climate control facility here enables us to do that. So we can set the timer for the climate control to come on, or we can just turn it on immediately. So let's turn it on immediately. Let's get the car defrosting. Not available. That's all good. Okay. Yeah. Okay. This is so it's not available, but it is actually on. Interesting. So now the climate control has been switched on. We should see the car demisting. The update icon just updates the current status of the car. Contact gives us a way to call, just a direct call route to the customer support centre. And then these settings allow us to set things like update on start, update at startup. This sets up notifications, so you can have an email sent when it's being charged, climate control's turned on. Well, that's fairly self-explanatory there. So that is fundamentally the Carwings app. Really nice when you're out and about. If you go out for the evening and it's freezing cold, and you're, I don't know, say at the theatre, or you've gone to see a film, you could just set it up to warm the car up or cool it down, like I say, before you get back to the car. And you find you'll step into a nice warm car at this time of year. It puts on the heated steering wheel in the case of the car we have, and yeah, it's just a very nice experience. No more scraping off ice from windows, anything like that. It's very pleasant. I'm just going to have a quick look at an alternative app, which is a third-party app called LeafLink. Does very much similar to Nissan's own Carwings app. This also allows you to set up timers to charge the set the climate control to come on. This also offers the ability to send addresses from your address book on your mobile device to the car for navigation purposes. So there's a few little extras in this third-party thing that aren't in the official Nissan Carwings app. Right, so if we just go over and look at how the car's getting on now, warming up. And you can see there that the windscreen's already largely defrosted. It'll be nice and toasty in there already. So that'll be pretty much ready to go. In the car itself, you can set up the charging and climate timer, and this is done from the main screen. We press this button down here, the zero emission button, and we see at the top this stuff relates to updating charging stations. Driving range just gives us a quick overview of how far we can go on the current charge. It's not very reliable, I would suggest, but it's a nice little feature. Nearby charging stations just gives you a list of the nearest ones to yourself. And update stations, well, I have this set to update automatically when the car starts up, so shouldn't really need to use that, but that will just update if there are any new stations added. They will be then available for use. Energy information gives us a breakdown on how economically we're driving and the history of that. There's actually full details on the Carwings website. You can actually view every single detail regarding mileage you've done when you've had the Carwings side of things switched on while you're driving. Because you do have to consent when you start up for data to be collected. You can specify that you'd rather not. So back to what I was going to look at. Charging timer. So that's set here. And what we can do, we can go in and set schedules up for each day of the week, and we can say we want the car to start charging between certain hours. You'll note that I've got it set up so that it stops charging at 80% every day. Now I can override that, so if I get home at night and the battery's low and I decide actually I'm going to need the car charged for the morning, then all I need to do is, when I exit the car, there's a button here which overrides the timer. So once that's pressed, the car starts charging straight away as long as it's plugged in. Moving back to this. So if we go into edit schedule, you can set up a couple of different schedules actually. And similarly, climate controlled timer. So you could, for instance, if you were commuting and you had to head off, you had to leave home at 7:30 in the morning, you could set the car to come on at 7:15, set the climate control to come on at 7:15, and just heat the car for 7 minutes, or cool it in summer, and the car will be nice and toasty or nice and cool as appropriate when you got into it. Really nice, because there's nothing better on a cold frosty day. Just step into a car and all the windows are defrosted and you're just ready to go. No scraping, anything like that necessary, just works. So the settings menu, let's take a look at warning messages first. This allows you to set up the car to give you alerts when certain conditions are met, so low battery or
there's limited power, or as you can see, charge recommendation. You just get an alert. It's a spoken alert as well to say low battery warning, or some words along those lines. Store locations with charge reminder allows us to set, say, home and work locations as places where you want to regularly charge. And what that will do is, if you're parked at home and you haven't plugged the car into charge, you'll get an email reminder saying you should be charging. So you can set that up to at what time it will remind you. I turn that off because I don't need reminding. You usually remember to plug the car in when I get home. It's a good idea to just leave the car plugged in when you're at home anyway. It services the battery as and when it needs, the AC battery I should say. There is a normal AC battery as well as the primary drive battery. So given that there's no traditional alternator, that's actually kept topped up by the main drive battery, or ideally if it's plugged in at home, there's a maintenance mode that will kick in and just keep it topped up. So when we're doing normal charging, the switch I press to override the charging timer. At the moment I have it set so that if I hit that switch it will go to 100% charge, because normal day to day the schedule takes care of that and it goes up to 80. So ordinarily I only generally use that if I'm going to do a longish journey, and I've parked in the evening and I need to set the car to charge up. And this temperature here is the that's set at whatever temperature you want the car to reach when it's when climate control kicks in. Other settings here, let's just have a look at that. Auto store charging stations. Well, I've turned that off because it does become a bit annoying. It starts putting charging stations in your address book. Might be useful, but if it's somewhere you've planned to go, you may already have it in there anyway, or you may set it yourself when you get there. And auto update charging stations. What's left that turned on. And I guess the reason this is in the software is because at some point the old Leafs didn't have the DC charging option, so rapid charge. In this car I have got rapid charging, so I want that on all the time. In fact, ordinarily I only stop at rapid charge stations, or quick charge stations as they're called there. One more thing it's nice to show on the screen is the camera. The camera on this model, the Tecna, has full 360 degree cameras. So there's one at the front of the car, one at the back, and one either side. It's quite helpful for parking, but personally speaking, I generally use my own eyes. It is a kind of aid to it, but I wouldn't rely on it 100% personally. I'm sure many people do and manage perfectly well. Because we're in park at the moment, that's showing the forward camera. If we go into reverse, that will come into reverse camera. So back to park. There's also a secondary mode. You click the camera button again, it goes into this nice curb shot on the left hand side. That can be quite helpful if you're not sure exactly where the wheels are, I suppose, and you want to get very close up to a curb. That's quite a nice little feature. And finally, let's just take a look at the normal charging procedure at home. So, having arrived home, the car's in park, we can just turn the car off. I might get windy. This is just a little reminder on here that charging timer is on, climate control timer is off, and the charge connector is locked. The charge connector is the small bay at the front of the car into which the cables go. So the first thing we have to do is unlock that. You can do this remotely from the key fob, but since I'm in the car, I press it there. We just heard a small beep. Having done that, we'll go out to the front of the car. It's quite windy, so we might get some noise on the mic. And we noticed that the charging port here. So we're using the one on the right, which is the level 2 charge, or the slow charge, level 1 indeed. And in my case, I have this box here. It's an untethered box installed by Charger Master, and it's the 32 amp version. I upgraded to the 32 amp, and this is the connector which is going to go in the car side. Can get some light on that. There you go. So a nice little light inside here, which is good at night on the version 2 Leaf. So plug that in. We get this dashboard indication now. So the blue light is flashing, that indicates it's charging. If the reason it's charging straight away is because the car's set to charge between 10 in the morning and 4 o'clock in the afternoon. If I'm outside that time, I use the charging timer override switch inside. And that's all there is to it, really.